Hello, hello. Thanks for coming.
Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. Thank you for being a little bit early. That's awesome. We get to hang out a little bit and meet. And thank you so much for having your camera on. I really appreciate that. Hello, hello. So for those of you who are joining, good morning or maybe good afternoon, and sometimes we have people from different countries, so good evening. So to begin with, and we're going to give a couple minutes for people to arrive. I would love for you guys to just maybe turn your cameras on and say hello. We can get introduced. I like to think of the space as kind of an extension of a living room and not a webinar, because it creates a lot more intimate experience and we can get to know each other and get comfortable, create a safe space. And I would ask you to keep your chat open. And right now, if you would put in the chat your name, where you are tuning in from, and also a very important question for the intention for today. And the question is, what is the emotional challenge or situation you would like to shift today? What is the emotional challenge or situation you would like to shift today? And you can put that in the chat. Hello, Rachel from California. Actually, I will put the question in the chat so you guys can have access to it. Hello from Scotland. This is amazing. From New Jersey, Immaculata. I love that name. This is so cool. From Sarasota, Florida. Leela from New Hampshire. I just love this so much. Like, it gives me goosebumps to know that people like are literally turning in from all over the world and to have this common mutual experience. Marina from Los Angeles, welcome. Suzanne from San Francisco. In love with a narcissistic man. Ooh, thank you for sharing that. There's a lot there we can talk about. Hello, Kat from California. TJ, attending from Honolulu, Hawaii. Focus on managing stress and anger. You are in the perfect space for that. We're going to be talking so much about anger and stress. Hello, Siopan. I hope I pronounced that correctly, from West Sussex, UK. Managing anxiety. Yeah, so the question, and thank you guys for coming in. Please, keep sharing your name, where you're from, and what is the challenge or situation you would like to shift today? What it is that you would like to shift in your life? So this is just a way for us to focus on the intention of why we're here, what brought us here today, and noticing what might need some shifting, some changes. Let me keep going to the chat. Shift emotions of self-blame to self-love. Yes, and I already love about this is that you're already shifting in your mind. You understand that self-blaming is not serving you anymore, but you would like to have self-love. And that's exactly the kind of transformation that we need to begin with. Learn how to settle my nervous system, often anxious for no reason. That's right. Hello, Yuri from Los Angeles. Having trouble to turn on the camera. Okay. How to help you? If you go next to the video.
It's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, overcoming grief, hopelessness, shift hopelessness, dread, and anger I have toward the U.S. administration. This is such a perfect time. The time is horrible, but this is the time where really we must shift inward and really learn how to control our anxiety and fear, and because the world is becoming so uncontrollable, and the only thing that you can actually have control over is your own emotional state. And the more people that are aligned and feeling settled and in control of those emotions, the easier for the world to respond to everything. So this is very important for us to do this kind of work right now, especially when so much is going on that we have no control over, and it is so painful to watch what's happening. Managing anxiety. I'm sorry if I missed somebody. It keeps scrolling fast. So for the newcomers, as you're coming in, thank you all so much for being here. What we're doing is we're putting in the chat your name, where you come from, and what challenge or situation you would like to overcome and shift today. Because yes, today you will actually walk away with very practical tools that you can use every single day. They're easy to use. I picked them specifically that they can be done and learned in just one session, and you can use them in your everyday. Learn how to settle nervous system. Would love to shift emotions of self-blame. Daisy from Houston, hello. I have a business and want to imagine my fears to push through and succeed. Yes, and I love that you understand and notice that there's a fear, because when we don't do something, or we're trying to move forward, sometimes we might feel some kind of blockages, and most of the time there's an underlying fear that we have. And the question is, what is that fear? And when you even name that fear specifically, our brain already begins to do the work of finding a different kinds of solution. So, sometimes, and most of the time, our feelings, and we'll talk more about it later, are trying to protect us from something, keeping us safe. So when you name what that fear is and reasonably talk to yourself, well, why do I have this fear? Why are you trying to protect me in this situation? What am I afraid of? What would happen if I didn't have the fear? What would I lose if I didn't have that fear? When we do this kind of processing, we become more in control of the situation, and somehow the fear just dissipates, because we realize that fear is something we just made up in our head. It's unless there's a tiger trying to catch you, most of our fears are irrational, and they just come, not that they're not important, okay, but we make them up a lot. So the question is, what is the message behind that fear? What do I need to pay attention to in that fear? Okay. Hi, Kay Ellis. Settle the nervousness and build my self-esteem. That's right. So for those of you who are just coming in, hello, Piyush. Hello, everyone is welcome. What we're doing right now is we're just doing some introductions as people are gathering in. You're welcome, Daisy. So we will have more intense Q&A at the end, and there will be a space for all of you to really speak up and ask direct questions after the session. So stick around for the entire time. I will definitely open up for anyone who has questions after and maybe wants to share something or work through something and get some ideas. So stick around. But for anyone who just walked in, please put your name in the chat and where you're tuning in from, and what is the emotional challenge or situation you would like to shift today, because we're making some major changes today, major shifts. I love this work because it is working so fast. A lot of the times, even one or two exercises that I will show you today will drastically change the way you approach life and your emotions. Hello, Hanan from Illinois. Piyush from San Ramon. Hello, Piyush. And all right, we're going to give it one more minute. Now, I will ask you guys to, if possible at all, we're going to be doing exercises that I really would love to see you on cameras. And again, I am envisioning this space more like a living room and not a webinar. So it's okay if you're wearing your pajamas, that's totally fine. Let's get comfortable, but for me it's really important to see your faces and your bodies to make sure that this work is working. And if I need to bring some adjustments, it helps me to see you guys. So if you're open to opening up your cameras, that would be very, very welcomed. All right, so I think we will now begin officially. Okay, if you guys have just a little bit of logistics before we begin, if you have headphones, that would be great because it will allow for the sound to really enter, because we're using music for some of the practices. And me being a musician in the past, I will tell you more about that later. Music is a big part of this journey. It really shifts our state. So if you have headphones, that would be great. Put them on right now. Now, since I can't see everyone, you can make yourself comfortable, but do not lay down, because a lot of the exercises, thank you, a lot of these exercises actually require a little bit of a movement. And so I would prefer for you to be seated up somehow. So also, you can lean back when you need to relax, but it's going to be a little bit of more engaged kind of participation. So just making sure that you are comfortable but not laying in your bed. We would not want you to fall asleep completely, which is probably something your body might need, but I want you to grasp full capacity of this work. All right. If you have water, that would be great. If you have paper and pen to take some notes, that would also be great. We have a helper here with us, Karina. Hello, Karina. Thank you so much for being here. Now, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And I don't always look for that because I'm in the process. So Karina will be mediating that, and if there's any questions, please feel free to ask and she'll be able to answer. Hello. And what else? I think this is about it. So let me give you a little bit of my background. That is
sound.
Okay, can you hear me? I think I got muted for a second. All right. So I'll give you a little bit of a roadmap of what we're doing today, and also share a little bit about the kind of work that I'm doing, and give you a little bit of background. So I come from a classical pianist background. I was spent most of my life as a classical pianist, performing on major stages of the world. And, from the outside, it looked so successful and so perfect. My career, I was traveling, years of training, performances, I got recognition, I performed in Carnegie Hall. But at some point, the joy that I had in me when I was starting out started to dissipate. And that happens sometimes when people dedicate themselves so intensely to something that eventually you run into a moment where the internal experience no longer matched the external success. And there was a lot of pressure, anxiety, and kind of constant internal dialogue about whether I was doing enough, doing it right, or doing it well enough. And I realized something important in the process, that the problem that I was having at the moment wasn't just the situations I was facing. Because every business, every life has its issues, so we can't expect a perfect situation ever. But what I was not good at is controlling my nervous system and mind to respond to those situations. And so when that realization came to me, I began to explore how emotions actually work. So not just psychologically, but physiologically and neurologically. And what I discovered really changed my entire life. And emotions like fear, anxiety, stress, they're not just problems to get rid of. They are signals for us to learn from. And it's the information from our nervous system. So when we learn how to interrupt the automatic emotional spiral that we sometimes find ourselves in, and then listen to what the emotion is actually trying to communicate, then everything starts shifting. So instead of feeling controlled now by the reactions or the emotions, we begin to work with them. And that's why I called this workshop today Befriending Your Big Feelings, right? So we want to become friends with them. We want to welcome them. We want to learn from them and shift them and have control over that relationship. So this is the kind of work I do with individuals. We work with the mind, we work with the emotions, we help to understand the responses and develop practical tools. And so today is really focused on practical tools that you guys will walk away with. So first, we will learn a little bit about some theory on how emotions and brains work. Then we will dive into the experience and practice some tools. And then we will have space to reflect and also ask questions and bring up any experience that you might have into open space here. So again, I will ask you guys if you can turn your camera on and maybe just for 5 seconds so that I can see your faces, we can get introduced and say hello for maybe 5 seconds so that everyone can be trusted and comfortable. So if you have any questions for me right now before we begin, before you allow me to guide you into the practice, this is the time. If there's anything, you can write in the chat. If you have questions, if you want clarity. Sometimes people ask me, what makes me qualified to do this work. I did get trained in neurolinguistic programming as a master practitioner and also hypnosis and somatic work. So outside of being a pianist, I did get the degrees to do this deep work. So you're in safe hands. Safety is number one. So if you guys have any clarifying questions you have right now before we begin, this is the time to ask. I'll give you a couple seconds. All right. Okay, welcome to the newcomers who just joined us. We're about to begin the practice, so make yourselves comfortable. Please don't lay down in your bed and just be seated up comfortably. All right. So let us begin. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. And please have your chat open because I will actually copy and paste. This is where we begin our internal journey, our journey into ourselves and really tuning in at what's inside us. So I will copy and paste the questions for you in the chat. And the first one is, how many of you have ever been told at some point in your life that you are too emotional? And you can just reply with a yes or some kind of sentence. How many of you have ever been told at some point in your life that you are too emotional, too sensitive? Yes. Thank you. Yes. Too sensitive. Yeah, this is coming up. Yes, too sensitive, too emotional. Now, I want you just to see how many yeses there are in the chat. That's a lot of yeses. Too much. You're too much. That's right. Yes. Okay, thank you. The next question is, how many of you learned somewhere along the way that the best way to deal with emotions was to just push them down and move on or get over it or control it? Yes, 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 yes. Me, yes. Was told that. Yep. Now notice how many yeses are there in the chat right now. Not allowed to have them. Yeah. How crazy is that? Okay. Next question. Used to drink to push it down. Yes. So there are coping mechanisms that we come up with to push down those emotions. Easier to keep to self. Yes. Thank you for sharing. All right, next question is, how many of you notice that sometimes emotions don't stay suppressed and they completely take over the system? Anxiety, overwhelm, spiraling thoughts. And now, yeah, full agree. So what happens is when the emotions are not heard and approached in the right kind of way, very often, people get depressed. And you know what I love about this word depression is depressing something. You press and press and press and you depress, and this is what happens. You end up in depression. Start moving my body instead of going into freeze mode. Yes. That was a loud napkin. Yes, thank you for sharing that. Now, another question. Let me read this. For the first question, I would say my mom said I'm emotional. The second question, I felt suppressed many times. Yes. And here we're bringing in other people into the equation, right? So somebody said, oh, you're emotional. And so what our brain does is says, oh, I am emotional. Now, my desire is to be loved, and therefore I should not be so emotional to be accepted by the people I care for and people who care for me. So there's that element that comes in when somebody else that we care for tells us something like that. Okay. Another question is, in one word, what emotion shows up most when you feel stressed or under pressure? Panic. Anxiety. Overwhelming, anger, detached, fear, overwhelm, sadness, fear, anger. Overwhelmed, rejected, lonely, sadness, anxiety, reactive. Freeze or go hyperventilate. Yes. So that hyperventilation is when literally the emotion just has no space staying inside the body and it wants to come out so much that we begin to right, hyperventilate or freeze. Right? Irritation, anxiety, and anger. Currently, due to suppressing my feelings and thoughts, I have started to get very anxious, angry, and overwhelmed. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Now, if you notice, we'll have a lot in common, right? So many of us have these feelings that overwhelm us and we don't want to have them. But at the same time, what we're doing today is we're really shifting a perspective on what these feelings are telling us. So what we're going to, there are ways, right, is one way is to suppress and not be overpowered. But what we can do is begin to learn by noticing them and then actually befriending them. So before we dive into exercise, I want to share with you some perspective. So think about what the word emotion means. It's energy in motion. So thinking about this way, there's some kind of energy that begins to build up, whether it's anger or overwhelm or stress or anxiety. It's a kind of energy that is somewhere being built up. And now emotions, we're not going to look at them as negative things. We're going to look at them as signals from our nervous system. So our nervous system is saying alert, right? It puts us on alert, and we do it in different ways. So your body and brain are constantly scanning the environment and is asking just one question. Am I safe right now? Am I safe? because the responsibility of your brain and your body is to keep you safe. And when the nervous system detects uncertainty or pressure, it activates a certain response that might show up as anxiety, stress, fear, tension, racing thoughts, etc. So many of these responses are actually, this is very important, learned patterns. So what do I mean by that? A nervous system learns from life experience, right? When we grow up, when we're just born, we begin to notice, become curious about the world, and learn from the world. And when something happens that feels threatening or embarrassing or painful or overwhelming, the brain remembers it and creates a quick emotional response designed to protect us the next time something similar happens. So let's say a kid falls down, right? And there is pain. So the brain remembers, okay, don't fall down. And the same thing happens, or, watch out. Or some kids might become fearful of something if that happens, right? So the same thing with emotion. And it's a very, very intelligent survival system, because without that system, we would not survive. We would be eaten alive. But the problem with this system is that the brain doesn't always distinguish between real danger, like a tiger that we need to actually run away from, right, or hide, and remembered danger. So sometimes a situation today can trigger a response that was learned somewhere else. So for example, let's say that someone have had a very critical and unpredictable authority figure in their life. And later, as an adult, they may notice that every time they interact with their boss or somebody in power, their body automatically goes into anxiety or fear. So something that we learned as kids, we then translate into our daily lives. And sometimes rationally, we look at the situation and we realize that that boss, treats us well and there's nothing to be afraid of. But our body remembered that kind of response that they're using to this day. So not because the current boss is actually dangerous, but because the nervous system learned that pattern, that authority equals danger. And sometimes we learn the emotional patterns just by simply watching people around us growing up. So if we see how our mother reacts to something that the father did, or the father reacts to something that the kids did, or that we did, we learn their reactions and our brain automatically begins to remember it. So the point is that a lot of these emotions and reactions are learned behaviors, and they don't really suit us where we are right now. And what happens then is once the pattern starts, we often create loops between thoughts and emotions. So how many of you have noticed, just put a yes in there, that, you might think of something, let's say, with grief, what happens? It's a long process, but we might find ourselves thinking about that person for a long time, and it begins to intensify our emotion and reaction to the experience. And then the feeling then causes more thoughts and more memories to come up, which then causes more emotions and more grief and more sadness and more pain. And this is a loop that we begin creating. So there's the brain that keeps feeding us these thoughts, and the emotions are reacting very often not to the outside world, but to actually our own internal thoughts and processes. So the loop keeps feeding itself. So the only way to get out of this loop is learning how to literally interrupt that looping pattern, right? So we have to come to an end of that pattern. We have to show it's like a hamster in a wheel, right? The hamster, we just keep looping, emotions, thoughts. How often do we live inside our brain and then suddenly we feel sadness? Nothing outside happened to cause that, but suddenly we're overwhelmed, right? So to get out of that pattern, we need to learn how to break. First of all, notice the pattern, right? Be familiar with it. And then decide that we are not going to be looping in this forever. So what we're going to do today is learn how to interrupt those loops. So number one is learn how to calm the nervous system quickly by interrupting the pattern. That's really important. And the second is learn how to listen to the emotion and what is underneath it, as emotions carry that information. So fear might actually be pointing to something very important underneath, and anxiety might be asking for clarity or need for change. So the goal for today is not to eliminate those emotions, but to learn how to interrupt those spirals. Okay? All right. So I will ask you guys one more time, if you don't mind turning on your cameras, because we're actually jumping right into the exercises, and I would love to see how you guys do them, because they are going to be a bit physical. And I want to make sure. Okay, and I want to make sure that you guys are doing it the right way. Okay. Let me see. Gallery view. Yay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So, here's the exercise. And let's dive into this with curiosity, trust, openness, open mind, open heart, and trusting that this stuff works really well. I have seen it work a million times. I'm going to grab this thing. So think about a specific situation when you felt anxious. Tap into your body and just notice that feeling. It might be anxiety or sadness. And think about something specific. It's always better to work with something specific. And now imagine a dial in your mind. Some kind of dial with maybe numbers on it, something you can turn up and down. Just imagine, bring up a picture of a dial in your mind. And now on a scale from 0 to 10, where would you say the intensity of that feeling that you just brought up right now is at this moment? Just notice the number from 0 to 10. And now imagine gently, 7, thank you. And now imagine gently turning the dial up just 1 notch. Nothing dramatic, just enough to feel that you have influence over it. Can you turn up that feeling, that emotion, up 1 notch? And just nod when you're able to do that. Just nod if you're able to do that. And now just simply imagining that dial, simply turning that knob down. Imagine actually turning the dial all the way down to 0. And notice what is shifting in your body as you turn that dial down. Allowing your body to turn it down. Show me with your fingers, if you have your eyes closed, where your dial is at right now. Wow. From 9.5 to 0 to 0 to 1. I love that. Isn't that magical? Now, just realize how much control you have over this. You just played this little game of the dial. You imagined the dial and you were able to influence it to go up. And then suddenly, 2 seconds later, you were able to bring that feeling all the way down. Now, 1 is okay. Even 3 is okay. The point here is that you are in control. And your mind can do this very quickly, very easily, and very successfully. Beautiful. So this is your one way to remember next time when something comes up. And you really, this is not about suppressing anything, right? It's just about being more congruent, more aligned with where you actually want to be. And then from that space, you can make decisions whether how to deal with the situation. So take a deep breath in. Exhale. Beautiful. Now, another exercise, it's called bilateral stimulation. And I'm going to ask you guys to grab something in your hands. I have this little brain. It could be a pen or your keys or your phone, whatever you find laying around. Okay. And now, let's experiment with another quick loop interrupt. I love this one. So, this technique is very, very, very simple, but amazingly effective. You'll be shocked how well it works. Now, let's practice again by thinking of something that has caused you some anxiety or anger or stress or frustration, whatever it is that you want to address right now. Think about that situation. And you can choose a different situation from the first time, just to show you a scope of what kind of variety of things you can actually do. You can have your eyes closed or open, it doesn't really matter. Your body's able to bring it up. And just nod when you have that available for you. And now notice the feeling in your body. And now rate the level of it on a scale from 1 to 10. And you can just show it in your fingers so I can see where you guys are. You don't have to put it in the chat. So now grab whatever object you have. Now you can do this with your eyes open, and actually I would ask you to open them so you can see what I am doing. And what we're going to do is you're going to, let me make sure that you can see. Okay. Toss your object. Now you're going to go a little bit, I'm going outside of my camera, but you're going to go expand. So what you're doing is you're passing your object in the midline of your body. So you are crossing in front of you, in the middle of your body from left to right, and passing that object left to right, left to right, left to right. Now, the reason why this works to bring your emotions down is because you are stimulating both hemispheres of your brain. And the thing about emotions and feelings is that they usually live in just one side of the brain. And when you begin to use both sides in order to do this bilateral movement, your emotion becomes really confused and it has no choice but dissipate. And we're just going to keep tossing it and keep tossing it left to right, left to right. And now stop. Take a deep breath in. And check in. You might note that the emotion has dissipated. Can you show me on a scale 1 to 10, where is it at right now? 0. It's gone. Bye-bye. 2, 1. Anything up to 3 is totally manageable. 8. From 8 down to 2. That's incredible. Thank you, guys. And some to 0. Beautiful. So really notice, I mean, how simple is this? Can you guys do this in your everyday life? Like, let's say something happens that... Yeah, and then, okay, and so I'm seeing, Irina, you're kind of doing this. Like, that's okay, but it really needs to be a little bit wider. Not that wide, but yeah, and really just tossing something, right? Tossing something. Find anything, I don't know, an earpiece, whatever. Your phone. We have our phones next to us all the time. So, remember this exercise, right? Anything that happens, you can just do that for 1 minute. Take a deep breath in and then notice where that feeling and emotion went down to. All right. Now, the next one is I'm going to ask you guys to close your eyes and you can sit back in your chair so you're a little bit more relaxed and bring up another stressful situation, feeling or emotion, and choose a different one this time so that we have a wider scope of emotions. Something very specific that has recently triggered and caused some distress for you. Now this one you can go a little deeper. And as soon as you feel it, locate where it is in your body. Shift your focus on where it is in your body. And really focus on the sensation. And now notice what shape it is. The sensation, what shape it is. What size is it? What color is it? Does it have a texture? Does it have movement or is it still? Just get really curious about the sensation. And now imagine this feeling is able to speak to you. And now simply ask it a question. What is it that you want me to understand, sensation? What is the message that you need me to know about? What are you trying to teach me? And just listen for the answer, allowing for whatever is supposed to come up to come up. When you're done receiving the message, imagine transforming this feeling into something different, changing its color to something that would feel more comfortable, more beautiful. What size would feel better? What shape would you change it to allow for this feeling to transform into a positive, comfortable, safe feeling? And imagine doing exactly that. Play with the sensation, changing its texture, its shape, its size, its form, maybe even location of it. Some people imagine wrapping that feeling in some beautiful color, maybe a warm blanket, or anything that feels comforting to you. Wrapping yourself now and that feeling with this image. And noticing what happens. Now we're going to learn how to use your breath and body to take the power away from the intense feelings. Take a moment and just simply relax your jaw. Almost dropping it to the floor. It's okay to look a bit strange. No one is watching you. Imagine your jaw dropping to the floor, because doing so stimulates the vagus nerve, which carries information from the nervous system to your brain. And as you drop your jaw, you're stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system to counteract the fight or flight response. And you're encouraging the lungs to reach for a nice deep breath, creating a flood of biochemicals associated with a relaxation response. So relaxing your jaw and take a deep breath in. And when you're at the top of your breath, hold it for 3 seconds. And now exhaling twice as long through your nose. Some people find that the inhaling to count of 4, pausing for 3, and exhaling for 8, they're able to keep their mind ruminating as they allow their relaxation response to cohere with their breathing. So let's take a couple of breaths here. In for 4. Hold for 3, and out for 8. And keep breathing this way and just enjoy the feeling of relaxation while I remind you of what you have learned today. You are keeping with you a few simple exercises that you will be using next time that any intense feeling or emotion rises up. You have a dial in front of you that you can turn down when you rate your emotion from 1 to 10. You also have any object you can pass from one hand to another once you feel an emotion rise up, tossing the object across the midline of your body and witnessing your feelings dissipate. You also know how to locate the feeling in your body and notice its color, shape, all the qualities, and ask it questions about what it is that it wants you to know. And after receiving the answers, you may choose to change its qualities to other colors, other shapes, other forms that feel more comfortable for you. And you will remember to drop your jaw and relax and breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 3, and exhale for 8. Doing this for several minutes till the emotion disappears. And now, allowing your mind to remember all these techniques, we begin to turn our attention back into our body. Feeling and maybe wiggling your toes, your fingertips. And slowly returning our attention into the room. And when you're ready, you might want to stretch. And open your eyes. Now, if you look on the screen, you will find the integration reflection QR code. If you have your phones, you can use your phone to click on the QR code. And our admin just sent a link. If you are in your phone, then you can go into the chat and click on that form. Now, this is a space for integration. Now, the reason we do it this way and not in notebook is because we will actually send you a copy of this, but it also really helps me to process what value we're bringing into you and to get to know your processes. And this allows me to keep building these programs in the future. This is not going anywhere public, so please share in there. And we will take a few minutes here for this reflection, so just keep breathing and keep thinking of what just took place. Anything that you want to remember for yourself, the questions are there. Right now, what is different in your relationship with your feelings and emotions? What did you notice emotions showing you? If you could respond to your emotions differently next time, what would you say or do? I'll just leave you with some happy music as you guys reflect. just take 1 more minute. If you guys are done, just sit there and feel what it is you're feeling, just processing, integrating. Just taking this time for yourself, for your contemplation, for some new ideas to start working in your body already. Welcoming the new learnings, the expansion of the mind, the expansion of your body. Bringing gratitude to your body for how intelligent it is, how it wants to keep you safe. Thank you guys so much for sharing, for contemplating. What I would like to do next is tell you a little bit about what it is that we are creating here. Thank you so much. Today we had over 100 people sign up. Not everyone shows up, but this is just, it shows me that there's such great need for this work, especially now in these difficult times. And so my mission is to keep providing these sessions for free online for people. Like literally we had people all over the world tune in. So in the QR codes that you have on the screen right now, we have the upcoming dates. Well, we have the March. We have another one of the same kind on the 11th. So if you guys want to revisit, you're welcome. It's going to be exactly the same program. And then in April, we're talking about getting tuned, and it's how to align all of our brain centers, because we don't just have one brain. We have the brain, we have the heart information neurological center, and we have the belly neurological center. So this is going to be about getting tuned, all of those in alignment. Then in May, this is about when you are under pressure to perform, and it doesn't have to be on stage. It can be speaking up for yourself in front of others. It could be stage, but that's a really fun one, how to deal with those kind of stresses. And in June, that's my favorite, because permission for joy. You know, sometimes we forget to allow ourselves to just be joyful, and we sometimes forget what that feeling is like. So we really will focus on that aspect of it in June, and how to bring that feeling back and stay with it. So the next slide, this is something that I decided to offer for you guys because you joined in today. If you want to meet with me for 30 minutes on a clarity call, this is going to be a deep dive for you personally, to discuss what we will explore is your goals, where you want to be, where you are right now, and what challenges you're facing, and receive a clear vision of what you might need. Now, that might be working with me one-on-one. That might be me referring you to somebody who is actually a good fit for you. So whatever it is, this is what we talk about in that clarity session, and it's totally free. So if you guys would like to sign up, you can just, again, scan the QR code. It will take you to a Calendly scheduling link. And we also have it in the chat right now, so you can copy and paste that. And then when you decide to use that opportunity, then you can just schedule a time with me that way. And we can go to the next slide with the big picture here is that this is just one of the offerings that we're creating and offering. This is a bigger movement called Inspo Journey, and you can check us out. Somebody asked for a link through the email. Yes, I will send a follow-up email to everyone. And actually, TJ asked for a great thing, and I will definitely do that. It's he asked for a handout with like outlines of how to do these exercises, and so I'm gonna pile it together. That's a great idea. Thank you for bringing that up, and I will send that back to you guys in a couple days, along with a playback of today, so you can revisit it. So we'll have that on YouTube. There are also previous classes. So we've been doing this since January. So we have the January class, we have the February class, and now the March class. And so I will attach the playback links so you guys can watch that on YouTube as well and revisit all the other ones. They were about how the brain functions and many other things. Anyway, so the inspirjourney.com is also where a lot of our different programs live. And the next, I think that's it. Oh, yeah. And one more thing. So if you have any questions, and stick around for now because we have one more thing we're going to do to close, and then we'll open it for questions as well. If you want to reach out to me, I'm always available to answer through the email. So Karina just sent it in the text as well, in the chat, at Yana@inspirjourney.com. So if you guys want to keep in touch, ask any questions for guidance or feedback, everything is welcomed. So please feel free to be in touch with me. And we're done with that. So now I will ask you to, just for our last closing exercise before we get into the Q&A and some in-person experiences, I invite you to now just sit back and close your eyes again. Take a deep breath in and exhale. When you joined this gathering today, you had an intention to shift a certain feeling or emotion. I invite you now to think back to that emotion or feeling or situation. And notice if something has already begun to shift, to change, to transform. And now whatever is left of that feeling, imagine it as a pebble. And now imagine that pebble amongst many pebbles on a wide, expansive beach. Now imagine that beach on an island. And that island in an ocean. On a planet. In a galaxy. Notice how you feel now. And as you notice yourself sitting there below, feeling your feelings, ask yourself, how do I want to feel instead? How would I rather react to some situations? What would be a better way, a healthier way to handle those situations? And when you receive the answer, imagine feeling exactly this new way. see yourself reacting in a new way. Feel yourself responding in a new way. And notice how this better feeling moves in your body. When you're feeling this better emotion, notice how different you respond to any situation. And now imagine yourself out into the future. In the future, looking back into the past and noticing that you have been able to react this beautiful way for a while now. Notice what it feels like and what it has been feeling like to choose the way you respond. Notice how good it feels to build this new relationship with your intelligent, loving body. Now coming back into your current day, noticing where you are right now, bringing attention back into the room. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Deep breath in. And out. I see smiles. Welcome back. Just noticing in the silence for a second how you came in and how you feel now. We work with an incredibly intelligent system that sometimes we forget that we can train to do magic on our behalf. And that's the beauty. So now I open the space. We have 20 minutes. So if anyone wants to bring up what happened, what you experienced, the relief I have felt has been magical. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. It is magical. There's that magic and we have access to it. We don't need a fairy for it. Oh, I can be a fairy. The music is beautiful. What is it? Oh, well, thank you for asking. I would love to share what this music is. Actually, I made it. So I went, when I was being a classical pianist, part of the difficulty that I started experiencing was that at some point I stopped feeling like I was being creative, because with classical music you play what I like to say dead people's music, right? Like some of them have been dead for 400 years and we still play that music. We still bring it to life, and there's a lot of beauty in that. But at some point I began questioning, well, what is me in it? And that's partially one of the reasons why I stepped away from that kind of music making for a while, and I had to discover what was my path, because I grew up with limiting beliefs that I cannot improvise, I cannot compose my own music because I came from a very strict classical upbringing that did not teach me those things. And the power of beliefs is incredible. This work that I started doing after I quit actually transformed my musicianship because I was able to be open enough to hear how much music was actually in me and believe that I can produce something myself, that I can compose, I can come up with something that is mine. And so I got on this journey last year, and all the music you heard today was either produced or composed with the help of some other brilliant composers as well. But there was a lot of things that I've put into it already myself, and it was such a huge step. And I realized that. Thank you for the applauses. Yeah, but it's just an incredible journey because I realized that like my brain and my belief system was keeping me back from creating my own stuff. And when that opened up, all this music started flowing in, and experimenting with it. And so there's just so much you can do when you're not thinking this crap about yourself, and this is why I believe in this work. This is why I want to share it with the world, is because it has that ability. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so feel free to ask questions in the chat, but also raise your hand or just come online. You can unmute yourself and keep the flow and magic. Yes, thank you. If you want to share feedback of what it felt like, I would love to hear that. If there's something that did not shift, please feel free to come in now and, talk about it, because that's really important. Sometimes we see people transformed, and if something in us is not really transforming, we might feel a little bit like, what is going on? What is wrong with me? So that's also okay, right? Like we are not all made the same way. So this is now your time to take this time to share. And yeah, Irina.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
hi.
everyone. Thank you, Yana, for amazing session. Sometimes you're a healer, practitioner, but something you need to be reminded that I can do it for myself as well. Yep.
I so agree with you. Yes. Practice what you preach, right? Or
Yeah,
do you speak
yeah,
Russian? Do you speak Russian?
да,
Yeah,
да.
сапожник без сапог.
Сапожник без сапог, точно.
There's a phrase that says
Yep,
there's a shoemaker without the shoes,
yep.
and
Because
that's what
he is
it's about.
busy all the time making shoes for others. Yep. And
Yeah, we, we
um,
we all need that. Thank you. What kind of healing?
vortex healing, you name it. I'm body worker for 40 years.
Wow, amazing.
Massage therapy, Reiki, vortex.
Mm-hmm. That's
Magical
beautiful.
transformation, divine
Magical.
magical transformation. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
But
for doing that
sometimes
work.
when you are open, totally vulnerable, and keeping this way with no boundaries, and when some of your actions which you think is good, but for other people it's triggering their huge stream of anger
Mm.
and direct anger. And when I'm exposed to overload of this anger in my system, when I'm not transparent enough to let it be not stick to me, my body shows that kidneys still have some fears or sorries that you invest in relationship so much and the person still reacts this way.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of opening the hole where it can be stuck to you.
Yeah.
When you don't care, somebody yell at you, you just easily transform it into love
Yeah.
and be done with it. But when somebody who is really close to you,
Mm-hmm.
to whom you are totally open, act this way and you feel so sorry, this story kind of opens the door to be harmed
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Right. Well,
So,
you're bringing up a very important point because there's a difference between sympathy and empathy.
yeah,
And what's really hard for so many people to do is to realize the difference. Like you can feel with somebody and then it immediately affects your state. Their anger becomes your anger.
yeah,
Their frustration becomes your frustration. Sometimes even their belief system then becomes your belief system. And this is where so many people struggle, right? In abusive relationships or whatever it is. And the work here is to separate the two. You can hear the person, you can understand their emotion, and keep your unity, right, to yourself. So that's where the work is, right? Is how to not get intimately, energetically, whole body affected by somebody else's journey. And so one thing that is important to remember is that every single person is on their journey. Their anger is not your problem, right? And it's
yeah,
easily said than done, especially when somebody you really care for, right? But by allowing and practicing that space where we say, this anger is not directed at me. It's a person who hasn't figured out how to deal with their own emotions. And so what happens a lot of the times is that we take it personally because we feel that we're the trigger for them, right? Like we're at the cause of their anger, but it is not true 99.9% of the time. Even if you are at fault, even if you piss them off, their response is not your responsibility.
yeah.
Right? So, and
Sometimes you don't even know what of your actions or words
caused it.
triggering it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's that separation, right? We cannot control what anyone outside of our bodies is experiencing or doing or creating. Like somebody brought, we're suffering from what the government is doing. Yes, but only when you allow yourself to feel that way. And yes, it's frustrating. But the question is, are you willing to give up your nervous system, your life, your happiness, your well-being, your stability for somebody else's distraction? Are you willing to do that? And most people are not. Deep inside, if you look inside, you don't want to be affected by this stuff as much. You can still care. You can still care about what they're doing wrong, but not at your expense, not at the expense of your body, right? Not
Yeah.
allowing yourself to be destroyed and lose your health, lose your life, lose your, intention. Why are you here? Right? If you want to go fight for those causes, please do so. Right? But sitting in your living room and being sad and destroying the opportunities that you were given and gifted in this world because somebody caused it, right? Like that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So it's learning how we respond. That's the only thing you have control over. And I've given you the simple tools. You can use them, right? Next time, just begin to notice, like, what is the process? And what is it that you are... can you hear me? Something changed. Okay. Beginning to notice, like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Suddenly, even if you get triggered, right? Like, okay, I just got triggered. This person said something to me and immediately I go into, right? Or something somewhere in the body. Okay, noticing that, accepting that for a second, and then choosing, what am I going to do about this? Do I want to escalate this with a loop, or do I want to interrupt the pattern and go back to how I think well, right? I feel well. And then from that response, when you're completely grounded and when you have regulated your own emotion, then you can come up with decisions on how to actually interact with that person or that situation or whatever, right? Okay. This kind of space is not...
Unconditional and unconditional love doesn't mean that you have to like all their actions. You can keep loving them unconditionally, but that doesn't mean that you have to love all their crazy responses.
Absolutely. Or blame yourself for anything.
Blame myself for being triggered or whatever. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Let me go to the chat. This kind of space is not completely new to me, and what I most appreciated about this trance is getting the very practical, fairly quick ways to communicate to our emotions in the moment. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are magical tools. Like, I've been using them. They seem so simple, but it's like, as long... What our brain does best is learns patterns. So what we want to do is we want to teach it new patterns. So next time when something happens, if you just grab this and start passing it, right? Or if you do the jaw drop, if you have that opportunity, just drop the jaw and, begin to breathe. Or you do the dial, which works really quickly and nobody ever knows that you're doing it, right? What you're doing is you're showing your brain a new pathway. You're creating those new neurological connections. And the more you do that to your brain, then it becomes automatic. And at some point, you're not even going to be thinking about it, right? Your brain is just immediately going to go into that positive state. And this is not about thinking positively, right? Like, it's not about, okay, I'm just going to think positive. We're dealing with the core, with the body. We're diving in. We're actually controlling how our body feels. So the more you do that kind of practice, the more you remember doing this and coming back to it over and over again, it's like riding a bike. The first time you rode a bike, you were like trying to figure out every single step of the way, right? And then suddenly your brain's like, oh, I get it. And then it becomes automatic. It's the same thing. So we're automating these responses. We're automating these feelings. And the more you do it, you're eventually going to be in a state of flow all the time. It's not going to matter who does what, when. You're going to be in that state of flow. So it's a practice. The last exercise helped show me that even though my feelings are a pebble in the universe, I can still control how that pebble sits without being heavy. It's just a small pebble in a sea of other pebbles. One thing I'm trying to navigate now is to come to situations with my heart instead of my mind, to be more calm and grounded. Thank you so much for sharing that. So yeah, I love that. So the Pebble exercise, it's a perspective shift. What happens is we get really, really into our heads, right? And we begin to overanalyze all of these things. And notice sometimes that even shifting, when you're in your head, notice next time that you are not seeing anything around you. Your vision actually is not looking at anything around you. You're like almost blind, like you're noticing things, but not really. So next time, try doing this, like shifting a perspective of even what you're noticing. Like, let's say you're really in your head and you're in your anxiety and you're in your thoughts and you're like, I can't believe that person did this. How dare they, blah, 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 like all this spiraling. Now, opening your eyes and choose an object to look at in detail. Just put it in front of yourself, right? And be like, I'm noticing the red, the blue, the lines, the shape, the texture, the feeling, whatever. Read, sometimes I find myself in that state in the shower. So I would just begin to read what's on the bottles of like shampoo bottles. It literally gets you out of this brain state. And it shifts that perspective. So what Pebble did in your mind was kind of the same thing. It expanded you out of your own body into a bigger perspective, an expanded state. And when you're in that expanded state, it doesn't mean that you are not important, Pebble. You are. right? But you're just switching that perspective so that you can look at the picture from a bird eye view, right? And then go back into the feeling and then make your decisions. So that's a really good one for that. Let's see. I think what was extremely helpful for me was listening to what the emotions are trying to tell us. This insight was a direct message from my inner wisdom, transformed shame to realization of my best of intentions and real self-love and appreciation. And isn't that what you wanted at the beginning? I think that was your request at the beginning, right? I love this. Do you want to speak up? Yeah? No? You can unmute if you want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's funny because it was actually a different situation. But I used another one. And that's where I always go. I go to self-blame. But then you listen to your wisdom and you start to soften it and say, where's it coming from? It's actually good. And you begin to then feel the heart. Yeah, it was a good exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to what it's telling you.
Yeah.
Telling
Thank you so much. So I have a perfect example of that I like to use. So you know how we do so much scrolling these days, right? And so we see what other people are doing. And immediately, if we see something that we care about, and let's say that other person is doing it better than us, and we start comparing. Oh, they're making more money, they have more clients, they're more successful, or they're spending so much time on the beach. Oh my God, right? And next time you begin to be jealous of somebody, instead of comparing yourself, notice that feeling of jealousy is actually showing something that you care for. Because, for example, in my life, I am not too big into sports. I never wanted to become an athlete. I never wanted to be like super in shape and buff and whatever, So when I look at people who are successful in sports, I have no feelings. I'm like, oh, great for them. I mean, it's just joy, right? Like, I'm just happy for them. There's no this like comparison. There's no jealousy. But if you show me somebody who is successful at music and there's that feeling that comes up, immediately what it tells me is like, oh, I really want that. I really care for that. So you begin to shift that relationship of jealousy as just like your sign of some sort. Or if it's anger, let's say we get some really angry about something. Well, if you didn't care about that thing, you wouldn't be angry. You would just not care. So asking, and we don't like the anger part of it, right? But when we begin, it like sends us the signals. It shows us that something is there. Some energy is very, very, very articulate. We tap into it like, why do I care? Show me that message. And it completely transforms because it just gives you answers. And the funny thing is that if you imagine your feelings as like these separate beings that carry information, they want to be heard. They want to be heard. And so when you actually access them and like you see them, sometimes you can actually literally imagine putting the feeling outside of your body and into your hands, literally, and like look at that feeling and be like, hey, what do you need? What does the feeling need? And you dissociate, right? Like it's no longer a part of you, it's right in front of you. And you talk to the feeling. What do you need? What do I need to know? What do you need me to know? And then suddenly there's this relationship. And it's giving you this incredible information that you're literally tapping into your subconsciousness to find out the wisdom that you already have. So I'm so glad that worked for you. That's awesome.
There is animation Inside Out, which shows you all your emotions and how they funny talk to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes it's a mix, and you wouldn't even be able to name what it is. It might be, anger, anxiety, or stress, or whatever it is, confusion, fear. Like sometimes you can't even understand what they are. Like you don't need to name it, right? Just whatever that sensation is, bring it outside of your body and communicate. Okay. Unconditional long does not mean unconditional access. Oh, love. Unconditional love does not mean unconditional access. Totally agree with that statement. Absolutely. Can you post the links to working with you in the future events? I lost connection. Yeah, so what I'll do is I have all of your emails, and so I will send you guys the replays, how to work with me, upcoming events, and then later some thoughts and processes, tools, and whatever is helpful, stories. Any other questions or comments? We are at time, so I'll be happy to stick around. And for those of you who need to leave, thank you so much for welcome to East Coast anytime. Thank you. Yeah, I'll stick around, you guys, and if not, then I will see you at the next journeys, and please be in touch. Boston welcomes. Thank you. I love Boston. It's such a beautiful city. It was one of the only places in America where you're in a bus going somewhere. People begin to discuss what books they're reading, and you end up in this like super highly intellectual conversation. I was so amazed. I was like, why? I want to live here. Could you share at least one piece of your music? I guess I could. Do you guys want classical? I can send you a classical piece. Yeah? All right, I'll make sure to attach that to the follow-up email as well. I'll send you guys something fun. I have this short Brazilian piece that is really, really cool. Very generous of you to give your time for free. Really appreciate it, and you're amazing. Thank you. Yeah, well, the reason why I'm doing this for free in here, because I realize that a lot of people don't have access to this. Work is expensive. And I wanted to have a place where people can still learn and change and shift and make quick changes. So, and because I love this work so much, I wanted to make sure that people have access to this. But it's fun for me. A lot of fun. Anything else? Anyone else wants to say hello? I know there's still 18 people hanging out, so please feel free to just unmute yourself and let's chat. I want to hear from you.
I'll share.
Okay.
I wanted to say thank you first and foremost. I have been on a journey in offering mindful moments to my audience over the last 2 years. And I myself, today, literally, you gave me the key that kind of unlocked my inner landscape, because even though I do these experiences with others and I use them myself, the key of the visualizing it when you are talking to your feelings and asking them what information they want to share with you, I've never pictured them. And today, when I look to see, well, what is it? What is the shape? What is the texture? Those were the keys that kind of unlocked the message that I was missing. Mm-hmm. So I definitely want to thank you for that.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is that our brain actually creates a picture for every single experience. That's how our brains work. And that picture, like, let's do this. Let's experiment. Close your eyes for a second. And let me think of what would be a cool one. All right. Think about the food that you really love. And now bring up the picture of that food in your mind. And now notice, where is it? Where's that picture? Is it close? Is it far? Does it have a color, or is it black and white? What size is it? Where is it located? Is it moving or is it still? Okay, so just noticing that. Now I invite you to just kind of erase that picture and think about the food you really despise. Really despise. Something that like makes you want to, well, really don't like. And bring up that picture. And now notice, where is it? What size is it? What color? Does it have a color or is it black and white? Is it moving? Is it still? Just observe where it is. And come back. So reply in chat if you noticed the difference between the two pictures. Yes. So yes. So it's funny because our brain stores these kind of pictures everywhere. So anything you think about, it's going to bring up a picture. When somebody asks you to remember something, hey, do you remember this and that person? You bring up the picture. You start going through your library in your brain to dig up that information, or a phone number, or an event that took place, or an object, or anything. Your brain will go through the collection of remembered images to bring it back. And so, for example, if we were to do this exercise, and let's say you really want to stop liking chocolate. Let's just say like it's bad for you, right? Or some food that you don't want to like. Well, what we would actually do is replace where that picture is being stored in your brain based on the things you don't like. And that way you get rid of cravings, you get rid of like things that you don't want to eat. If you're eating like chips every single day and you don't want to do that, but you really like it, it's most likely because your brain stored it in the place of, I like this. And it gives you this kind of feel-good hormones to eat it, right? But you can absolutely switch where that is placed and stop liking that food. That's how crazy the brain works. So, going back to Debbie, what you said about the feelings, yes, the emotions, they work the same way, right? So they all have placement. They will take a spot somewhere. Sometimes we feel it in our hips, a lot in our solar plexus, in our chest, in our throat, right? And then like once we transform the emotion, right, it stops losing, like the energy dissipates, right? And so it starts moving. Sometimes it will start literally moving into different parts of your body, and then sometimes it just leaves your body completely and it's gone. And it has a place, it has a shape, and when you start to pay attention to that, that's when the relationship begins to build. And then your brain is so powerful, it can just shift it, right? And be like, okay, well, I don't like how this feels. I feel choked up. All right, well, if somebody's choking you, what do you want to do? Well, I want to release the hand. You release the hand. Okay, I can breathe now, right? And you can imagine that in your mind, actually doing that. So you can play around with that next time. Could you please send us the recording by email? I would really love to listen. Yeah, for sure. I'll send you guys everything. Anyone else has any more questions or
Sometimes
shares? Yeah.
what you suggest for food works for people as well. If you want clear breakout with some not working anymore relationship, if you put attention not on great qualities, but on not so great qualities and put it from the list, the most desirable person to others.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree completely. That can be done. If you really want to get over somebody, that's a really good way to do it. Put them in a different space. And yeah, oh, somebody else mentioned dropping into the heart. Yeah. So this is where we're going to focus on the getting tuned. I think that's April. Because yes, the heart, the second that you drop into the heart, you turn off your brain and you begin to feel and get information and knowledge from your heart center. And again, this is not because, like the woo-woo, I just want to, peace and love for everyone. That too. But the way we think about it is the heart is actually a neurological electromagnetic organ. It has and stores information just like the brain does, just in a different way. So when we don't tap into it, we only think from the consciousness, only from the brain. When you tap into the heart and into the belly, you get so much more access to information. It's incredible. So that's the process we're going to focus on at one of the next workshops. All right.
I do have a follow-up question.
Yes.
So when we did the visualization, what I noticed is the things that I say I want was further away than the things that I don't like. So how do I make that switch? Like there's a disconnect because the things that I don't like, I could see them closer in color and in texture. But the things that I say I want, they were like in a distance, sitting over on a counter somewhere.
That's an interesting thing, and I would be interested in diving into that with you one-on-one. But one thing that comes into my mind is that we have a certain judgment of what is the correct way, right? So it feels like, well, if it's closer and if it's bigger and if it's more colorful, then that's better. But that might not be the case for you. It is what it is. The things that you like are somewhere over there. But there's a second thought, which I understand where you're coming from. It's like, well, it seems like the things that I want should be, right? So I wonder if there's some kind of limiting belief or not allowing yourself to like the things, right? So your brain can do that sometimes and be like, well, I really like them, but I don't deserve them. And really, that's what it comes down to. It's like, do I deserve to have all the things that I really like? So I cannot give you a specific answer because that's a deep dive into what is happening with you. But that's makes sense. So yeah, there's a lot of people come to me and they say, I have all this success and all this, things are coming to me, but I'm just not joyful receiving them. And when we start working through this process, underneath the core belief is that they're not worthy of receiving those things. So there's a huge misalignment of this internal and external. Like the external is actually giving you, and sometimes you don't even see it or feel it because deep within, you are not really allowing yourself to have those things. And again, it's not your fault, but that's how your brain and body decided to react, right? And not receive. And those are the limiting beliefs that we learn since we're born, right? Because we are surrounded with society, with people. As kids, we always want to be loved and accepted and cared for and be safe. And we will do anything possible to get that love and acceptance from the people we care for. So sometimes those patterns don't change throughout the years, and we grow up and we're like, oh my God, I'm not worthy of anything. Well, maybe it's because somebody told you you're not. Or maybe because your brain decided to make that decision when somebody told you that you should do a certain thing and you didn't want to do it. So once you start diving into those aspects and realizing that that made up belief system is no longer working for you, you can change it. And then suddenly you're like, oh, okay. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes of this kind of exercise of going from I'm not worthy to I'm so worthy. What was I talking about 5 minutes later? Like I have seen last week, I did it with a client. She gave me a whole list of crap about herself. And then 5 minutes later, she's like, what? Like, this is all false. I actually do believe all of these great things are coming for me, and I accept them, and I love them, and I'm worthy, and etc. It's just a mind switch. Literally, like, click on and off. Perspective. Anything else is coming up for you guys? Thank you for this class. I admire what you're doing. Would definitely sign up for common classes. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Well, be in touch. I'll send you all the links. And thank you guys so much for taking the time. And tell your friends. Bring your friends, bring your family members, whoever will benefit from this. We're going to be doing this and changing the world one step at a time. So thank you all so much. All right. We'll see you soon. Bye.